Many influential people tell us how much better off economically we all are in war than in peace. They see miracles of production which it requires a war to achieve. In Europe after World War II, they joyously counted the houses, the whole cities that had been leveled to the ground and that had to be replaced. They confused need with demand. The more war destroys, the more it impoverishes. The greater is the post-war need. The destruction of houses and cities did make more businesses for the building and construction industries. The inability to produce automobiles, radios and refrigerators during the war did bring about a cumulative post-war demand for those particular products. To most people this seemed like an increase in total demand. But when they built more houses, they had just that much less manpower and productive capacity left over for everything else. Wherever business was increased in one direction, it was correspondingly reduced in another. The war, in short, changed the post-war direction of effort. It is sometimes said that the Germans or the Japanese had a post-war advantage over the Americans because their old plants, having been destroyed completely during the war, they could replace them with the most modern plants and equipment. But if this were really a clear net advantage, Americans could easily offset it by immediately wrecking their old plants. It would be an advantage for a manufacturer to have his factory and equipment destroyed by bombs, only if his plant and equipment had already acquired a null or a negative value. Destruction of anything of real value is always a net loss, a misfortune or a disaster, and whatever the offsetting considerations in a particular instance, can never be on net balance a boon or a blessing. There is no more persistent and influential faith in the world today than the faith in government spending. The remedy is just as obvious. All that is necessary is for the government to spend enough to make up the deficiency. Everything we get outside of the free gifts of nature must in some way be paid for. Every dollar of government spending must be raised through a dollar of taxation. A certain amount of public work is necessary to supply essential public services. The problem here is with public works considered as a means of providing employment or of adding wealth to the community that it would not otherwise have. For example, a bridge is built. If it is built to meet an insistent public demand, there can be no objection. But a bridge built primarily to provide employment is a different kind of bridge. Instead of thinking only of where bridges must be built, the government spenders begin to ask themselves where bridges can be built. Two arguments are put forward for the bridge. The first is that it will provide employment. These jobs would not otherwise have come into existence. But the bridge has to be paid for out of taxes. For every dollar that is spent on the bridge, a dollar will be taken away from taxpayers. They would otherwise have spent the money on the things they needed most. Therefore, for every public job created by the bridge, a private job has been destroyed somewhere else. But then we come to the second argument. The bridge exists. If people have taught themselves to look for indirect as well as direct consequences, they can once more see the possibilities that have never been allowed to come into existence. They can see the unbuilt homes, the unmade cars and washing machines, the unmade dresses and coats. To see these uncreated things require a kind of imagination that not many people have.